One thing which has been causing a lot of inconvenience to passengers is, of course, these hoax bomb threats which have been coming through. In fact, just in the week gone by, there were as many threats as over 70, 40 within a matter of day itself, and that's causing a huge ruckus at the airports, causing delays, causing economic loss, and of course, the biggest being the inconvenience to passengers. Mr. Mark D Martin is joining us. He's the CEO of Martin Consulting. Hi, Mark. Good to be speaking with you. What does it look like? This one is not just one-off case or a small set of airlines or only domestic ones getting impacted. Now international flights are getting impacted. The number has gone up in a very exorbitant way. What's your reading as to how to stop all of this?
Good to be here on ET. We have to be very clear that any threat is considered a serious threat, whether it's a prank, whether it's a hoax, whether it's somebody trying to play a joke on somebody. You have to divert an aircraft, and the financial impact from this is insane. I mean, conservative estimates is about $500,000, but if I start adding the consecutive flights which get delayed, you start adding the flight schedules, the passenger compensation, the delays, complete schedules going out of whack, sending a backup aircraft to bring people back. The cost actually goes up to $1.16 million per diversion. And this is not something which is, to be overlooked, or, we can't really call it a hoax. And I think, as you rightly pointed out, we've had more than between 40 and 70 such threats for which have been limited to Indian flag carriers, and this raises a major concern. And for me, it's not just this being a hoax. I think there is definitely a more sinister motive behind this, and I'm the last guy to speculate on this, but I think a full-blown investigation should be called out by the government, by the IB, by RAW, by Home Affairs Ministry, by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Ministry of Civil Aviation, because I believe we are in a duopolistic airline environment, and this could also be a scenario where we're dealing with corporate or industrial espionage, because I'll agree with one or two or three threats, but between 40 and 70, I mean, that just is a telltale sign of something far more deeper and far more sinister and deliberate.
Given the fact that the numbers of this hoax are increasing, do you see or do you expect an organized cartel or organized group to be behind this kind of threats that have been coming in, and the corporate espionage that you were saying? Do you think that would be international corporate espionage also that could be in works here?
Hi, Sumit. Well, actually, to be honest with you, it could be anybody. Like I said, I'm not going to speculate, but we must, but if you look at the telltale signs, just when India enters into its peak holiday season, I mean, millions and millions of passengers want to travel back and go back for Diwali and holidays and Christmas, and we're in the winter peak tourism season. Just when we're in that zone and a great opportunity to make money, guess what? The entire flight schedules are completely out of whack. I agree. Whether it's an international consortium, whether it's a local consortium, whatever it is, we need to know. And why is because right now it's the common traveler, a family, Somit, who spent nearly twice or thrice on that ticket to go back for Diwali. Now his entire holidays are ruined. And I think collectively the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and I hope they're listening, I hope they call a full-blown investigation into this, because we need to get to the bottom of this. We are in a duopolistic airline environment, unfortunately, and regretfully, and something has to be done now.
So, given that you have spent so many years in this aviation industry, have you seen such kind of increasing number of threats anytime in any of the international markets? And if yes, did air traffic actually get impacted post that?
Honestly, in my career, having led 3 airlines, I can tell you I've seen about 4 or 5, but those have been more of hoaxes. Those have been, practical jokes from pranksters. But that's been 4 or 5 in about 4 years or 5 years. But to see 40 and 70, just when traffic is peaking, is definitely pointing a direction in several other areas, and not just this being something to do with terror. Because if it really was terror, then we would have found something on board an aircraft. We would have found at least some kind of a plausible, strong threat to disrupt the safety of a flight. But we've not seen that. And I'm not saying the terror angle should be overlooked. All I'm saying is that it's high time we looked at every single possible element to rule every bit out. And it's very unfortunate that we're seeing this now. Why did this happen 6 months ago? Why didn't we see this last year? Why now? And just when airlines have raised fares by almost 60 to 70%. So, enough is enough. I think this isn't about punishing the guilty. It's about finding who is guilty of doing this and taking stern, aggressive action.
Sure. Mark, any suggestions or recommendations that you would have for the government? Because as you said, every threat has to be taken very seriously. It's not that you can perhaps let go of it despite knowing that there have been 40, 60, 70 already. But what is the way out? What is a practical solution to it, if any?
Right now, what the government should do is set up an aggressive investigation task force led by our intelligence agencies, the IB, the CBI, by RAW, by Ministry of Home Affairs, the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and DGCA, the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, BCAS. Collectively, we have to investigate not just the terror angle or whatever that's geopolitical, because I don't think Ukraine or Israel is going to affect us as much as a Canada relationship with India. But the bigger concern is that if this is something which is away from all that, just time and just to harm an airline financial performance for competition and market gain, then that's something which is unforgiving. Because whatever it is, our airlines provide a service to our traveler. Air travel is no longer luxury; it's a necessity and it's an imperative travel mode. And while all of this occurs, apart from the airline losses, it's the consumer loss which is unmeasurable. And I think this is the right time that the government has to, and I'll repeat that again, has to and should take up a very aggressive stance on this.
It is indeed a corporate espionage or a warfare of sorts. It's done in a very distasteful manner, so definitely needs to be taken up. Thanks so much, Mark, for making time and speaking with us today on a topic which has been impacting everyone's life.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits. And then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.